All right, guys, section 1.2, functions and graphs. Again, this is a review. A lot of us, I know my class did it in Algebra 2. Some of you guys might have done it in Algebra 1. Should have seen all this before. First off, identifying domain. Remember, domain is your input value or your independent variables. Range is your output values or your dependent variables. So, for example, let's say my function is x squared. We should all recognize that x squared is a parabola. How do I know it's a function? Well, you could always do the vertical line test where you say, okay, if I draw a vertical line and it hits it exactly once anywhere on the graph, therefore it's a function. Or remember, the definition of a function is that every input has exactly one output, right? So this is a function. If I wanted to do the domain, domain is on the x-axis. It goes left to right. What's the farthest left this graph goes? Well, it goes all the way to negative infinity. So ways I can write this. I could say it's going from negative infinity less than x, because it never include infinity. Infinity is, so it goes on forever. Less than, and all the way to the right, it also goes on towards infinity. This is totally acceptable to write. You can also do it with parentheses, saying negative infinity to infinity. Or you can say x is in all the real numbers. I know that that's something that Mr. Troy talks about. The range. Range is your y values. It's where it goes up or down. Well, the lowest that this goes is at 0, and it's including 0. So I can say 0 less than or equal to y less than infinity. Or if I did it with the parentheses, 0, I'd have to do a bracket because it's including 0 to infinity. Or I could say y is just greater than or equal to 0. Sorry guys, I had to pause for a second, crying baby. Let's do an example. Let's say we had the function the square root of 3 minus x. Now, if you don't know what this looks like, you guys should all have your graphing calculators and should be graphing in a regular window. Now, I could kind of figure it out by saying, okay, if I plug in 3 minus 3 is 0, and the square root is 0 is 0, so that's over there. If I plug in 4, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. I can't take the square root of a negative, so it's not going to go that way, so it's going to go the other direction. 3 minus 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1, square root of 1 is 1. If I know the square root graph, I just know it looks like this. So there you go. That is our function. Again, how do I know it's a function? I can do the vertical line test. Now, first off though, let's figure out our domain. Again, domain goes right to left. It's our x's. Our farthest left, again, is negative infinity, less than x, because you can include x, less than, where's the farthest right this graph goes to? It doesn't go past 3, and it's including 3, so it's less than or equal to 3. So again, you have options here. You don't have to write them all 3 ways, you guys. I'm just showing you all 3 ways. You decide which one makes the most sense to you. So you can either write this like this with inequalities, or you can say, okay, it's going to be negative infinity. The parenthesis means you're not including it. to 3, but you put a bracket because you are including 3. Or you can say x is less than or equal to 3. Any of these ways is great. Pick a way. Range. Again, range are the y's. It goes up and down. And again, I'm going to show you 3 ways. You get to decide how you want to write it. Just be consistent. The book and myself will switch through all these different ways. You've got to figure out, you have to know what they all mean, but you have to figure out how you are going to write it. So range, lowest it goes. Well, there's nothing in the negatives. The lowest it goes is right there at the 0. And I'm including 0. Less than or equal to y. Less than, this is actually going up to infinity. It's taking a very, very long time, but it's getting there. So it's now going to infinity. Again, I cannot include infinity. You cannot equal infinity. Infinity is not a number, just a very, very huge concept. Or you can write it like I'm including 0, going to infinity, not including infinity. That's why it's in parentheses. Or I can say y is greater than or equal to 0. So those are all the ways you can write domain and range. All right. Next, we're going to talk about composite functions. Those are functions in another function. You might see it written as f of g of x, or fog of x, which is still f of g of x. These mean the exact same thing. Got it? I prefer this one. You'll see me writing f of g of x like that. Your book will sometimes use that one. Doesn't really matter. They mean the same thing. You need to realize it means the same thing. That g of x is inside f of x. So in this case, with this one, the g, because the second letter, is inside the f. So, for example, let's say I said f of x equals x minus 7, and g of x equals the square root of x. And I'm asking for f of g of x. So I'm asking for g of x to be inside f of x. That means I'm taking this and putting it into that x. Got it? So it just becomes the square root of x minus 7. Ta-da. See, not too bad. I can go the other way. I could go g of f of x, which means I'm taking this and putting it in to that x. So x minus 7 is replacing the x of g of x. So that becomes the square root of the quantity x minus 7. For fun, I could do f of x. I could put a function inside itself. So that means that x minus 7 goes back into the x. So it becomes x minus 7 minus 7. So all those ways that you guys can do composite functions. Again, read the book. Look at the examples in the book, because I didn't go over everything in the notes here, but this was just kind of Cliff Notes versions. Your book has great examples of other things. So, your homework for this section, this would be assignment number 2. Page 19. Hopefully you guys have figured out you're not doing the quick review on those pages, you're doing the actual section exercises. The quick reviews only go to like 10 questions. Alright, so you're doing the section 1.2 exercises. This is section 1.2, pretty much same assignment as last time. You're going to do 1 through 39 odd, and then number 49. This is not the same every time, it just happens to be these first few assignments. All right. Have a good day. Hope your first few days of school have been going good. Talk to you guys later. Bye.